Hello, my name's Rod Matthews, and I believe that we may be spending time together on the 19th of July. And the reason why we're spending time together is because you have done a bit of work over the last few years developing your expertise in the area of diabetes. And there is an excellent opportunity for you to be able to share that knowledge and help your peers with their type 2 diabetes patients. There's an excellent opportunity to help your peers reduce the stress and frustration associated with dealing with patients with type 2 diabetes, an opportunity to be able to increase the quality of the clinical results that they achieve, and also to increase the likelihood that your opinion is sought after, listened to, and acted upon. And so in order to be able to share this knowledge, there's of course a couple of ways you can do this. There's a formal way and there's an informal way. The informal way, of course, is the conversations that you have in the corridor, in the cafe, in the car park, anywhere that begins with the letter C, it seems. But the formal way is when you are able to invite your peers to a meeting or a presentation and to deliver your expertise and knowledge that you've gained through that particular channel. So I thought I might just do a quick video for you to cover off a quick thing that may help if you choose to go down the formal path to deliver, to share your knowledge. And I find that I've worked with a lot of doctors, surgeons and nurses who have had to deliver knowledge in this particular way. And they've said to me, Rod, I get a bit nervous, but I find that the nerves drop dramatically when I've had a degree of audience interaction, when the audience starts getting involved, when people start asking questions, when it becomes a conversation, then I find that my nerves drop significantly. So what I'd like to present in this short video is a quick way of being able to increase the level of interaction that you have with your audience in that formal environment in an appropriate manner given the style of presentation. And the way that I suggest we can do this is, of course, through questions. Getting the audience involved through you asking questions, but there is a gradient. A mistake that a lot of people make is they go straight for a big question. You know, what is the peak to trough ratio of paliperidone as it enters the gastrointestinal tract and is released through a semi-permeable membrane over a period of 24 hours? If that's your first question, you're going to find it very difficult, unlikely that your audience is going to respond. So there is a way of being able to increase the audience reaction by gently increasing the level of commitment that you are asking from your audience, and that is using the question gradient. So with the question gradient, the first step there is to frame it up, is to let your audience know that you're looking for some sort of interaction and to prepare them to get involved by answering your questions. And there's two key places you can do this. One is at the beginning of the actual session. So you might say something like, okay, I'd like this to be more of a conversation than a presentation. So please, as I go through the material that I've prepared, you may have cases, you may have experiences that have happened to you that have been triggered by what it is that we're covering. At which stage, please feel free to volunteer that information. Also, having said that, as we go through the material, there's some questions I'd like to ask of you, so please be prepared to get involved and volunteer some information. That's how that may sound. There's also an opportunity to frame up the fact that you are asking a question as well. If I just start by asking the question and saying, what is the peak to trough ratios of paliperidone, that sort of thing, then we haven't really left enough time for people to answer the question. And they have to go through that whole thing in their head of, oh, that was a question. He wants me to answer. Does he really want me to answer? Okay, I'll have to think about that. What is the answer? Does anyone else want to answer first? The audience is going through that sort of process. So in order to increase the likelihood that people volunteer their answer and prepare them for the question, we can frame it up at the beginning of the question by saying something like, okay, here's a question for you. Put your thinking hats on and consider the following. What would you say might be the peak to trough ratios of, all right? And that way we are more likely to allow people to go, oh, okay, here's the interaction bit, and therefore when we get to the end of the question, they're more able to, or more ready to provide an answer. What we can also do, after we've framed it up at the beginning of the session, we can also ask for a limited response type question. A limited response type question is one that doesn't really need a verbal answer. It just needs a nod or some sort of response, even if the answer is just in here. We just need them to respond in some way. So we might ask a question like, who here has ever had the following experience where you've been working with a type 2 diabetes patient, you've told them about the importance of diet, exercise, of self-management, but they just seem to be coming back every time with the same symptoms. They're obviously not following their treatment plan. Who's ever had that experience? Now, a question like that doesn't really need a massive response. It just needs a knowing nod, and a sort of a reply of yes, that's it, a limited response. So we're easing people into responding. Now that they're nodding away and saying yes, yes, now we can ask a few closed questions. And these closed questions are just designed to, again, increase the level of interaction without being too imposing. So we could ask some questions like, okay, so if that's the case then, I'd like to find out, do a little bit of a quick survey to find out what percentage we've got in the room. So I'd be curious to know, of those type 2 diabetes patients that are having difficulty, who here thinks that diet is the main challenge that they've got? Okay, who here has had patients where exercise has been the main challenge? Okay, and who here has had patients where they think that the medication has been the most difficult for them? Okay, and who here would say that it's just general self-management that they're struggling with here? Okay, so what we're doing here is we're asking people just to show of hands. It's very, only requires a show of hands, very limited sort of a response. Then, once people have done this, then they are ready for the open questions, the larger questions. So at that point, we're more likely to be able to ask a question like, so based on the experience of the room, I'd be curious to know what it is you would say works with these people and what it is that doesn't work with these people. And if you ask an open question after you've increased the level of interaction slowly, you are more likely to get a response at that point. So thanks very much for watching the video. I hope this has been of assistance, and I'm very much looking forward to catching up with you on Sunday the 19th of July. Have fun. See you then.